There were so many niceties on that debate stage tonight. I am just kind of like, well, if you agree so much with JD Vance, why should they vote for you? I fully believe that Governor Walz went out there tonight and did what was practiced in debate prep. Did what the strategy was that the team put together. That was not the Governor Walz that I had seen out on the campaign trail. That's not the Governor Walz that I had seen during the Veep stakes, right? That was not the JD Vance that I know to be true. I mean, goodness, JD Vance was on that stage. He was sorry about Amber Thurman. He was sorry about he was sorry about a lot of stuff. We get things wrong, but do you agree with the policy? And then I just, that's not the Margaret and Nora that I know. Margaret don't do that on Sunday morning. So I just think that I know that there's so many people out there that want normal. They want normalcy. They just want, just be able to just disagree with, you said a lot of things I agree with. This is not a normal election. JD Vance is actually not Paul Ryan. And Donald Trump sure as heck is not Mitt Romney. Okay? And what happened on that debate stage tonight was not enough contrast, was not clear enough for people sitting at home or frankly who will probably consume this through the clips in their local news or here on MSNBC or on social media to distinguish and make a difference.
Yeah, so we definitely got to get into this. MSNBC is not happy. Are you surprised? No, they're not happy because JD Vance absolutely dismantled Tim Walz, right? And they're mad, as you just saw, they're mad because it was cordial and fairly respectful, and they didn't differentiate themselves enough, right? But this next clip is so stupid. Watch this, and then we're gonna, it's just stupid. Watch this. Yeah, here we go.
Like muting powers. And I actually think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment JD Vance had, because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this. I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic will see themselves in some dude that disrespected them and talked over. I mean, there was a moment like that with then vice presidential in the Pence debate where she.
This is such a stupid talking point. And it paints the picture that women are too fragile to be confronted or to be criticized, or it paints the picture that women are above reproach. Meaning, if a woman shuts you down, you better not say anything. You better be a good boy. And you better get right in your place and do as we want. Because if you mansplain, that's a bad thing. We could womansplain to you all day, but if you mansplain, that's a bad thing. He wasn't mansplaining to anyone. They literally said, we're not going to fact check. They tried to manipulate the narrative throughout this debate by doing that. So when they broke what they agreed to do, which was not fact check, he then called them out on that. And then rather than saying, you know what, okay, that is fair game, she wants to get up here and talk about, well, he was mansplaining to them. Grow up. That is such a, really, you're too old to be talking like this. He's mansplaining? So at what point when a man challenges, by this logic, at what point when a man challenges a woman, when is he not mansplaining? Like, they use this tactic of morally shaming people or men to try to get them to be quiet. Let's shame them into silence. Yes, we're gonna break the agreement we made, but if you say anything about that, you're mansplaining and you're talking down to us. This is such a stupid talking point. And I think many women actually realize that and don't agree with her. I don't think all women are that emotionally immature to see this as mansplaining. Like, really, grow up. Like, grow up. You're a grown-ass woman and you're talking like this. He's mansplaining because he challenged the moderators who broke their own rules. A lot of these women of power can see right through that. And actually, this is such a childish, stupid talking point. Sometimes I wonder how MSNBC is still working and running. This is so stupid.
Where she's like muting powers.
Okay, so if you don't have any context of what they're talking about, here's the clip that they're talking about. Watch this right here.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you,
Margaret. The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP-1 app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
We could hear him, but yes, they did cut his mics. And what she wanted to do is she wanted to control the narrative. She wanted to put her little bit in there to push the Democratic narrative and didn't want to give him the option to combat that. If it would have been male moderators sitting up there, he would have done the same thing. This has nothing to do with him mansplaining. So the fact that this woman gets on air at MSNBC and is describing this as mansplaining is idiotic. It is stupid. And since we're talking about JD Vance right now, watch him absolutely body Tim Walz. Watch this.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And he's right. Common sense economic principles. Giving people $25,000 for a home is not common sense, right? Putting price controls on grocers who have 1% to 3% margins is not common sense. And it's nice to see somebody on stage with common sense actually talk about this because it needs to be talked about. And from here, what we're going to look at is an analyst from CNN, his perspective of this debate. Watch this. All right, so Scott Jennings is here, and he's about to absolutely obliterate Tim Walz. Watch this.
Clear, Vance outclassed Walz tonight. I mean, I was watching this, and all I could think of was, man, Walz is so
out of his league.
And this guy sitting in the White House Situation Room with that facial expression that's like 50% sheer terror and 50% extreme bafflement. I mean, it was amazing, the split screen difference between a competent Vance and a totally in over his head Walz. The answer on why he lied about his trips to China and the Tiananmen Square thing was probably the worst VP debate meltdown since Stockdale in '92. You know, who am I and why am I here? It was 2.5 minutes of absolute terrible. For Vance, night of redemption. All the political media has told us that Vance was a terrible pick and Walz was going to bring in all these voters. That charade is now over. Walz does not belong at this level of American politics. Vance does. Final verdict, Tim Walz wandered into the wrong bar tonight.
Bingo.
It's pretty clear.
Bingo. It's exactly what happened. Wandered into the wrong bar and got obliterated. Got absolutely obliterated. And here's part of that answer that Tim Walz gave when he was called out for lying. He doesn't want to call it lying, but he lied. This man here is, he is something else. Watch this.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress. for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric.
That's what you're doing.
But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing.
Keep
so
watching.
This is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So
no, you lied.
I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
So in other words, he lied. That's what he's saying. I lied. And I'm not going to say I lied. His definition of misspoke, like when he says he misspoke, he lied. He said he was somewhere when he was not there. He lied. And rather than taking accountability for that, because he's probably using it to boost up some point or something like that. So he doesn't want to take accountability for the fact that he lied. But the more you pay attention to him, the more he seems to have a problem lying. The man lies a lot. Like, he lies an awful lot. And the Democrats are going to try to cover this up and act like, well, you know, it's just that no, the man has a habit of lying, right? And that's something to pay attention to. But if you pay attention to these two vice presidential candidates, you'll see something interesting. It kind of tells you about Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris and their ability to pick talent, right? It's it's extremely obvious who's more talented, who's better, who's smarter, who has better ideas, right? Between these two. It's as clear as day. And with that, that also gives you, you know, a peek into the future of how these administrations will be ran, right? And if you're looking at how they're hiring people, Trump is hiring clearly, just with this example, far, far, far more competent people. Right, so that's all I got for this video. Like, share, and subscribe. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.